I'd like to share my packing tips with you for my road trip around Iceland. This trip took place over 8 days and 7 nights at the end of May, a time of year that is really beautiful in Iceland, and I really hope that soon as we can travel again, as many people as possible take the opportunity to visit Iceland and enjoy what it has to offer. But to come back to the packing, the thing to think about for this kind of trip is really the sort of changing temperatures that you will encounter. And during our week, the lowest temperature experienced as I was driving between Akureyri and Eyjólfsstaðir was 2 degrees, and the warmest was officially 17 degrees in Húsavík, but it actually felt far warmer. Sitting outside the restaurant, I really did need to be dressed as though for a summer day, as though the temperature was 23, 24, because it felt so much warmer, as it did when I explored Ásbyrgi a little bit later. So I am packing, bearing in mind that I am a 60-year-old woman, and also that I like to do different things. This is not for an adventure trip. It is not for a hiking trip, although the trip included 2 hikes. The main purpose of the trip is sightseeing, to enjoy different places at a fairly relaxed pace, but also sometimes to eat in restaurants, to spend time in Akureyri, which is a small city. Normally when I'm in Akureyri, I would go to the theatre, and of course that was closed, but when I'm in a city, I still don't want to wear hiking gear all the time. In fact, if you are planning a hiking trip, I would refer you to the information given by the kind of companies that book those tours, because specific clothing is required. For example, you should not wear anything that is cotton unless you're wearing a shirt on a warm day purely for sun protection purposes. So special hiking clothing is really the best way to go for that. But even if you're going on a sightseeing tour, to make the most of it and to be comfortable at all times, it really is necessary to think a little bit carefully. And if you were travelling with just carry-on, then I would recommend that you wear your heaviest items, for example, your heaviest footwear and also your heaviest coat, and pack everything else, and it would just about be possible to do this with carry-on with a little bit of streamlining. It could be done. But if there's 2 of you or there is a group of you, it is often not that much more expensive when the cost is shared between you to book 1 item of hold luggage, and then you can all take a little bit more in this 1 bag. That would be my recommendation, but it can certainly be done with carry-on. I live here, we hired a car, so I'm bearing that in mind also when it comes to transporting the items. Now, one of the first things that you need to think of, which I actually wore on the final day on 1 evening only, is decent rainwear, because there are many different kinds of raincoat and many are showerproof. So if you're just sort of going on a couple of short walks up to a couple of hours, you don't need specialist hiking gear, but you do need to have with you, and even just for regular sightseeing, if it rains a lot, you need to have a coat that or a jacket and trousers, ideally with a hood, and certainly waterproof, not water resistant or water repellent. And to make sure that the seams are good, because with some of the cheaper coats, they are not. Although this coat cost me in UK money around £100, I've got to say it was £100 very well spent, and I've worn it for 5 years and it keeps me dry as it did on the day I bought it. So that is fabulous. The next thing to think about is how you will keep warm if it turns a little bit cold. And again, to have something that you can easily carry with you if you want. And this kind of jacket here, which is filled with down feather, it only weighs 500 grams. So if you need to take it in carry-on, it's the ideal thing to pack, that is light and warm. It's not waterproof, but it can be worn under the raincoat if needed. The other thing I think about is sun protection, because the sun is quite powerful in Iceland, in part due to the low levels of pollution. So I would say to you, if you normally wear a high protection factor, take it with you. I also, because I have pigmentation issues, like to try and keep as white as possible. I haven't quite achieved it even with this and applying it extra often. I have gone a little bit brown, which I didn't really want, but it's just the way it happens. And for me, I also have a sun hat. However, I would recommend a fold-away sun hat if you are travelling to Iceland from overseas, although you can carry this kind of hat onto the plane. It is permitted if that is what you would like to do. And also with your sun hat, it's good to bear in mind that it's quite often windy in Iceland, so to get one that anchors quite nicely to the head. And whilst I'm thinking about the head, the other option I take with me is my warm hat, which just folds away into my little backpack that I carry with me, and it's there at all times, although my warm coat has got a hood as well, so in a way I don't need an extra hat. I'm just in the habit of bringing one. The other factor that many people maybe don't think of, but that is very useful in Iceland, is your favourite bathing suit and a little towel or a travel towel. And it's good to have this handy wherever you go. I always have it in a bag ready in the boot of the car in case I want to go swimming, because there are many beautiful swimming pools in towns in Iceland. They're really cheap to visit. 1,000 krona, probably £5-6, and you've got a swimming pool, usually a couple of hot pots, beautiful views, and wonderfully warm geothermal water. So unless you don't like the water or there's some reason you can't go in it, you will probably want to go swimming. The other factor here is there are some lovely spas, and we went to the beautiful Vök baths, which is in Eyjólfsstaðir in East Iceland, but there are quite a few. There's Jarðböðin, the earth baths at Mývatn. There's Geo Sea Spa, the seawater spa at Húsavík. There are many options in addition to the world famous Blue Lagoon. So that is the swimwear, and I always have a little towel to economise on space even further. You could have a travel towel which will dry really quickly as well. So the next priority is to have sunglasses, because it doesn't really get dark, and it can get pretty bright as well, because if you're driving across the mountains, there will be snow usually either side of you, and that will throw up a lot of reflected light. And for me, particularly when driving, sunglasses really do make the difference between a beautiful and comfortable experience and one where I'm sort of screwing up my eyes against the intense light. So the next thing that I like to think about, having thought about my head, is my feet. And I always have hiking boots. I just like wearing hiking boots whenever I'm walking on rough ground. They support the ankles nicely, but I know some people would just wear trainers. But then I like to have a nice pair of walking shoes, really comfortable, that I can wear in the city, or even if, even if I go out in the evening to a restaurant, I'm happy to wear these. I can sometimes take other shoes with me, but I don't need to, because I'm happy to wear these, and they are so light, bendy and comfortable. So again, they're easy to pack. And I would say, if you're going with carry-on, just wear your heavy shoes, take a light pair of shoes and wear them for everything else. Flip-flops or sandals are nice. I took a pair of Echo sandals with me, but again, it's not essential if you're only doing carry-on. Trousers, I had a pair of nylon hiking trousers that were useful, because we did do 2 hikes, one with a local hiking group in Akureyri and another one of our own where we hiked up to Hengifoss, and it was quite cool and windy that day. So again, we have to think of everything. Tops that you can layer are really good. Again, some people might want a top that they can sunbathe in. I like to have this, and then I like to have a cotton shirt that I can slip on over it, so that I'm protected from the sun without having to smother myself in sun lotion very often. So I will add a shirt to that one. Or if I'm cold, I've got this is one of the high-tech hiking type tops, but it's very comfortable, and because it's open at the front, it's quite flexible as to how I can wear it. I can zip it right up here, or I can have it half zipped, or I can have it unzipped. And so that's what I wear when I go on walks, unless it's very, very warm, and even then I have it with me. I have a couple of sweaters. This is one of my favourites, and this is the one that I was wearing when I drove across the mountain, and it's very comfortable for me to wear. Many people like a woolen jumper, a woolen sweater, and you can get beautiful lopapaisu in Iceland, and if you would like to buy that as a souvenir, they're available in very many places. So if you plan on doing that, you don't necessarily have to come with a sweater. You can buy one here, because they are readily available. I then like to think about trousers, and for just sightseeing, driving, and even maybe going out in the evening, a nice pair of jeans for me are what I would want to have with me. They're these are stretched jeans, so they are very comfortable, and very, very comfortable if you're walking uphill as well. But of course, cotton trousers are not recommended for hikes, because if they get wet, they become very, very cold. But if you're just walking around cities, exploring museums, going to galleries, driving between places, and you're not going to get them wet because you've got a good raincoat and you like wearing jeans, why not? So I then start to think about what I will wear on other occasions. And if I'm going to a museum or something, and I'm in a city and I happen to be wearing my hiking clothes, I'm quite happy to go in as I am. But I also sometimes like to dress nicely. So I have 2 items here that I can adapt depending on the weather conditions. I have this top, which is a polo neck nice polo neck jumper, thin, fine ribbed, and then I put over it, if I want to look nice for an evening, I just pop this little top over it, or I can wear the little velour top on its own, and it goes very nicely with the jeans, with or without the sweater. So that again gives me options for the daytime, or for going out in the evening, when usually but not always it isn't going to be so warm, although I have known it warm enough in the evening in North and East Iceland, and even Reykjavik on occasions, for me to walk around in shirt sleeves. I'm not really somebody who's that sensitive to the cold. I've always been more sensitive to the heat. In other words, if it gets to 25 degrees, I complain that it's too hot, but it's nice to be able to layer and to change. And then thinking of the warmer weather, I have a pair of really light trousers that just fold up, that just fold up, and they're light and they're soft and they're loose, and they lend themselves to looking casual with a t-shirt and, in my case, often a shirt open over the top. Or they can look smarter for the evening when I also have, I didn't bring a dress this time, sometimes I do. For me it's quite warm enough to wear summer dresses in Iceland. Sometimes I layer them with a cardigan and leggings or even jeans, but much of the time I don't need to do that. So I have this one here that is a tunic that I can wear over trousers, or I can wear it as a dress, and I can also wear it with a gold belt if I want to. And the other top I have is, that I took this time, is a very nice shirt that's colourful that I can wear over the tunic, that looks a little bit nice, because when I was in Akureyri I did go to visit a lady who we spent some time for an evening together, and of course when I visit somebody in their home I want to look nice, even though people, are always understanding when you're on holiday. If you just come in, whatever you're wearing to go hiking and slip your shoes off, people are fine with that. I would also say with going out in Iceland in the evening, although I'm just one of those people that if I'm going out in the evening, if I can, I want to look a little bit nicer. Then, it doesn't matter. Nobody will turn you away from anywhere because of the way you are dressed. Nobody. But the local people, when they go out for the evening, they do like to look a little bit nicer. And, I do too. Even if I'm on holiday, I like to dress in something that's maybe slightly different to what I would wear during the day. But everybody is different, and certainly if you're taking just carry on, you might just want to bring one nice top with you that will fold up to almost nothing, and then you can wear it with your jeans and you've got your nice outfit. The other thing that I take is I've got this little roll that I've had for many years, and in that I put some of my personal grooming items, like my nail file. I do like wearing nail polish on occasion, so I always have some of that with me. And in one of the compartments I can put some, like a little necklet thing and a spare pair of earrings. I don't take much jewellery wise with me when I go away, but I do like to take a little bit so that I can accessorize if I want to. And yet, other times I just don't bother, but I've got the choice. So those are really the things that I feel are essential for me for a summer trip. And that is definitely a sightseeing trip. It is not a hiking trip. It is not an adventure activity trip, which would require sort of specific clothing and maybe specific equipment as well. And I would advise you to research what would be necessary in an Icelandic climate and environment. But having, planning for the kind of weather that could happen actually makes your stay that bit more comfortable. And most people would find in the space of a week that they would wear most of it, and somebody said to me, well, if it was cold, you wouldn't wear your nice blouse, but I could wear it with my polo neck sweater underneath, my coat over the top, and when I've got where I'm going, it's warm anyway. That is something to remember, is Icelandic buildings are cosy, so you won't have the situation that you can sometimes have in England, where in the summer the central heating is off and it happens to be a bit cold. But here you will find that the building will be heated to a reasonable level almost always. So it's often warm enough just to wear shirt sleeves, or it is for me. You certainly wouldn't want to wear heavy outdoor clothing in a building, which is another reason why it's important to have layers, because even if you're going on a hiking trip, you will be in, unless you're camping, you will be in guest houses, and these are warm and cosy. The farm guest houses that we stayed in were really warm, really comfortable. We stayed at Berg Farhufuk Heimili, which is a youth hostel actually, but it was very nice and very comfortable, with a lovely lounge and well-equipped kitchen. And we stayed at Eyjolfsstaðir, near Eyjolfsstaðir, and again that's a farm guest house that's really warm and comfortable. And the other one that we stayed at that was out in the really out in the country was the Suther farm, that was near Hup in Hortnafjörði, and again that was really warm and cosy. So being able to, have shirt sleeves and sit there in shirt sleeves is quite nice. The other things, of course, that I take with me are underwear and nightwear, but I just take regular items that are easy to pack. So that is my packing list. The other thing that I forgot to tell you about, I carry a water bottle with me, a stainless steel water bottle, because I don't like plastic. But there are many, many opportunities to refill that bottle with beautiful, pure tap water. I wish you happy travels in Iceland, and I hope that you can take that journey soon.